That's the best, right?
Yeah, there's a ramp, well, it's a ramp.
Yeah, the steps going out the building are much fewer and gentler than the ones going down into the baptistry, correct?
You wouldn't go down to the baptistry with a wheelchair.
No.
Probably
It's
not.
only steps.
No,
No,
I
don't think Baptistry. There is a ramp to the, on that drawing to the right, there's a ramp.
Yeah.
Go out that door.
Oh, okay.
So they
And you could meet at the doorway of the baptistry
Yeah, it is.
with that person and then go down.
Try to get an area of refuge for someone who possibly couldn't make it all the way
Yeah,
up.
2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people in wheelchairs. If we at least got them to
The top of the
the
steps
top of
even.
the steps, we'd know, okay, there are 4 people we need to evacuate, and then roll to the ramp. But at
Right.
least we'd know we've got them all collected, and then if we had difficulty moving them, or whoever was in charge of moving them had difficulty moving them, we could then instruct the fire department, we have 2 more people in wheelchairs, go. But at least we know we've got them all. And we watched, and they were all in one place. What we were concerned about is, what if they ended up all over the place and we didn't know? So an area of refuge is typically one central location where everybody with a disability would take them to. So the idea is not go down the stairs, just put them in front of the baptistry, know we've got them collected, and then as many people as possible that are physically able to roll them down the ramp or help them with their walkers or crutches or whatever they have, at least we've got them all collected. I think that's the idea. And then we do have that one ramp by that to get them out. So when we talk about an area of refuge, it's simply to coordinate where are all these people gonna go and where do the ushers put them. Because remember, in an emergency, everybody will go berserk. So your job as an usher is to keep people from going berserk. So one usher is busy getting the congregation out, while another usher may be busy just getting people with disabilities to a location. Yeah.
I've been involved in something like this before, but they had like a green hat or something that would be identifiable for the usher or whoever's in charge. Because when people just get, emotionally upset and that they need something to focus on, whether it's a vest someone puts on or a green hat or something, you could really put it in that little area as you come into the church. There's like a coat rack there. You could put that kind of so the usher people would right away say, this is the leader.
That's a great idea.
That's a good point.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, because you got a lot of, again, you could have visitors or someone who's not familiar with what the procedure is to evacuate. And you kind of identify them as, we're in control, we're going to evacuate you, we're going to kind of guide you where to go.
Yeah.
So that's a good idea, so we should write that down.
Are there several different areas of refuge depending upon where the fire may or may not be?
Now, there's only one main area because we focus mainly on the congregation.
But what if the fire is in the front of the church? I mean, down by that baptistry.
Well, as you look at the diagrams, I think we're gonna have to watch it.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
it shows you on your diagrams in your handout where to go if you're in the
Different parts of
in different parts of the building. It has a little line with red dots and shows you that the congregation doesn't go out the back. The congregation goes out the front, the 2 sides. Only the
okay.
folks that have disabilities go out and meet by the baptistry. So the congregation going the opposite direction of where the folks with disabilities would be going. And the usher who guides, not out the back.
Yes.
But I believe the second point of refuge might be between the congregation and the lunchroom, within that hallway, because if there is a fire this end of the building, you cannot have that as your refuge, as your focal point. You need a second one. So it would probably be between the hallway, between your lunchroom and the church.
Right.
In the sense of knowing that if it's coming our way, we're going to move everyone, but so they know where there's another.
We can't see the arrows in the printout. I don't know if anyone else can. So
Pardon me?
Well, the print, these,
Yeah.
yes.
these are,
On your evacuation plan, all
They're
of the
color in the other
refuge places are at the back of this handout. And in most cases, with a red dot and a red line. Some of you might have a black and white, but there's every,
Okay, thank you.
and these are what David Greening will be posting.
Yeah, the individual evacuation, the pictures themselves like that, those will be blown up by David.
Right.
And they will be posted, so that you'll have, you'll.
They have them all in their packet.
Yeah, you have them in your packet, but the intention is to blow them up and have them also a visual kind of guide for everybody as well. Okay?
See,
So
when
you're
this was
looking
the
at
first
handouts.
pass, Huntley didn't want to go ahead and post anything up, because then people would say, well,
Whatever.
what are you posting, what's this for? So we wanted to kind of run this by everybody, because, we tried to think of this as a little more, Celia working with Huntley all the time, but we're just three, and to have everyone else's input is a lot better. So, that's kind of like a good step for this meeting as well. These are do's and don'ts. These are some of the stuff that I went through. So when the alarm sounds, these are the easy ones. You want to evacuate the building immediately. Those individuals as identified as leads, ushers and folks in charge of the children, they need to maintain control and ensure that the congregation walks and gets out safely and calmly as best you can. And no one can ever re-enter the facility until the fire chief has given the okay. Because it could be a false alarm, it could be a real alarm. If it's a false alarm, which you hope is most of the time, they'll give re-entry okay into the facility. Don't allow the congregants or anyone to leave the parking lot in their vehicles. I said I work for a manufacturing company. These folks think it's break time and they're gonna go to, Dunkin' Donuts and get a coffee. We can't account for them. So you certainly don't want vehicles trying to get out as emergency vehicles are trying to get in. Okay? So you wanna prevent that. Make sure that no one assumes that the alarm is false or it's just a drill. Again, we ran into that, as I explained, with our church. The adults stayed inside the building as the alarm was sounding. You want to get everyone out. Again, if there's personal belongings, everyone's evacuating, you grab whatever you can. But again, you can't come back into the building because, oh, I forgot a pocketbook or I forgot my coat. No, those are not excuses to come back in. Can't come back in until the chief is cleared, or the commander, the fire commander is cleared. You don't have an elevator? No. You don't allow anyone to use an elevator. That's just standard practice. Yeah. I think this is a good thing, and, again, this is exactly where everything stems from. Oftentimes people take safety for granted. Again, because they just think it's just a test, or this can't be real, or did I really hear it? So in order for Christ the Redeemer Church to be safe, every member of the lead team and the congregation must develop an attitude that fire prevention as well as safety and efficiency. The ushers are there to help those who are not familiar, those who need help. As the congregation understands what they need to do, they need to take their responsibility for getting out of the building. And then those parents, I can sympathize. If you have small kids, you do want to meet up with your children. There's nothing to stop you from going outside at the rally area to see your kids. But you got to trust the folks that are in charge of them are doing their part. These should be conducted annually. And again, I'm surprised the town doesn't require it. Tewksbury requires it, so I'm surprised the town has never required it. But again, you got to look at where did we fail? Where could we improve? Those are the type of questions you have to ask yourself.
Isn't post-mortem a little pessimistic?
Yeah. Post-incident. We could post-incident.
Drill.
It's a drill.
Review, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Will there be use of walkie-talkies?
Oh,
You know,
we gotta ask now with the walkie
cool. We don't have any.
No, don't have any. No, I don't think they're really needed.
No.
Again, as long as you get everyone out the building and the leads know what they're supposed to do,
And everybody's accounted for.
and everyone's accounted for the best you can. And again, I know you don't have head count in the congregation, but use the buddy system. I know you were there, where are you now? Why aren't you here? Someone's left in the building. There have been incidents, and I think you've seen them in the paper, where firemen have lost their lives on an actual fire because I think sometimes it's just like a joke to have someone go in, and something happens catastrophically, and someone loses their life. So, again, you got to be able to tell the fire department personnel that there is one individual, I last saw them there, and then they can go in and check. Again, conducting annual training, and new teams, backups, and train and develop a schedule. So you're gonna need backups. You're gonna have some sort of annual retrain, just a quick overview, only takes maybe 10-15 minutes. If it's new members, you may wanna go in depth a little bit longer. But other than that, you should have something annually.
Could you do it in smaller groups? Like, could the ushers have their own training and the teachers have their own training, so we don't have to gather up, 150 people to do this? I mean, could each different ministry kind of do their own
Yeah,
training?
as long as you can verify.
If they did a,
That would be my own concern. So whoever the lead is
in
would
that
have to
group.
take responsibility for that year. So
Right.
in 2014, the usher training was conducted by or led by X person. We have a date. That way we can assure continuity in the program. And as we develop changes to it, those changes are getting communicated. What I get concerned about is, it's like a coffee table book. It's there, it's pretty, it collects dust. And in the event of a real emergency, we've got to take this stuff seriously, and people have to be accountable. So the ushers this is a huge responsibility for an usher. So now, if we're adding this to the job, they also have to be willing to take on the responsibility of evacuating people, which is a huge responsibility. But right now, we couldn't think of a common denominator. Certainly the announcement comes from who's ever, leading the service. That one's easy. But then the usher really is responsible for getting people out. So
Responsible for certain locations anyway. And part of our safety team group, we thought, well, okay, we'll as an alarm goes off, we'll have someone from the team kind of go through the building real quickly, make sure that no one's left behind. Fire department balked at that. They didn't like that at all, because that's their job. Okay, so where I'm going to go with this is, we don't want any leads going back into the building once an alarm has gone off to make sure that everyone's gotten out. You have to assume that you've ushered everyone out, and you get out, and you use your buddy system. That's the best way to do it. It's the only way to do it. Unfortunately, where you don't have a set amount of individuals that you can account for.
Can I ask one question as
Sure.
the head of the ushers? There are team leaders, there's 5 different ushering teams.
Right?
So I think I would like to suggest to my ushers that each team know what their people are going to do in case of an emergency. Because
Right.
it's the same people that are usually with that team.
Mm-hmm.
And then yearly, when we have an ushering meeting, we could do the evacuation, anyone that's new or whatever. But is that something that you think would be okay for me to say to them?
Yeah, that's fine.
The team leaders,
Oh,
that
yeah.
your team should, maybe assign people to each door or each section to make sure everybody gets out.
Right, and at least if they know what they're supposed to do, that's key.
And then if we have this drill, whenever we have this drill, whatever ushering team is on duty that day, they'll have it running like clockwork.
They should. Yeah.
Well,
Shall I tell you, you pull an alarm and there is mass confusion half the time, know? But once you've gone over it a few times, people understand what they need to do and how they need to do it.
no, of course not.
Yeah,
It's double duty.
I work in a school, and
Yeah.
I'm part of our, whatever you want to call it, teams that we have in place. Part of my job in that is checking all the bathrooms within the building that I work in. I'm a little uncomfortable not checking our bathrooms here. I'm a little uncomfortable with not sending at least one of our ushers to, you know, make sure there's no one in the bathroom. You know, kids kind of go out without their parents to use their bathroom. So I just feel uncomfortable that.
It's not, it's really not an individual's responsibility to check that, to be honest with you.
Wouldn't the firemen automatically do
It's
it?
the firemen that will do it, but if you wanted to do that, and again, it was our company that said, no way, you're not going to do that, because we're not gonna risk life and,
Well, by the time the firemen come, we've already done it. That's
yeah.
what I'm just
But,
saying.
you know,
is that-
I'm not gonna say you can't do it, it's a recommendation that you don't do it, because say if it happens to be in an area that there is a fire, and someone goes in and someone's fallen down or something, who knows, okay, I'm just gonna make all these what ifs.
Right.
And there's smoke, and no, instead of do that.
We can decide that we are
You
gonna
can
do it.
decide that,
And then how
Yeah.
many bathrooms are there? There's 2 in the hallway.
This time.
Just one here.
Yeah,
That's it.
so
Yeah.
it may be part of the, one of the duties of the leads of that team can be fire, you know, I mean,
Everybody
it take, fire, bathrooms, you hit the, you know, one of the ushers hit the 2 bathrooms, and you only have 3, you don't
Well,
have.
the one here would hear anything, I mean, that doesn't count.
so the ushers would be, who would do it up this
So then the
portion?
team would decide which usher's gonna check back.
I would say the
Right.
usher
Okay,
closest
alright.
to this
The one- the
door.
one-
The usher closest to
decide.
whatever door
Right.
would evacuate or at least yell, you know.
But they'd hear the alarm, wouldn't
They
they?
should
I mean,
hear,
they
you
sh-
know,
I mean,
that's,
well-
we've never pulled the alarm. I mean,
It's
we
just
couldn't
those little
pull it.
bells, you know, it's not like the new, in a second.
Sure.
I won't forget you.
Thank you.
We know, like, the newer systems have a strobe and a loud horn. These things have a bell, and who knows if the bells work. And sometimes it can be ding, 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 like an alarm clock.
Yeah.
You know, so we really don't know how well that whole system works, to be honest with you. And the only way to do it is to have a drill, pull the alarm, have the fire department set it off, or the alarm company come in and trip it so you can set it off. Know where all the bells are, and I mean, if they're not working, then you need to replace it with something else. And you won't get a bell today. They'll give you the strobe and a light, I mean, and a horn. But that gets more involved, because I had to do that for another company of ours, another division, where we had the bells, we had the gongs, and we went to strobes and lights, because they weren't heard that well, or they were defective in some cases. We had to upgrade the whole alarm system.
Oh.
So, you know, it's a double-edged sword in an old building like this. I don't know what's gonna happen.
We have, I'm from Little Lambs, and we have a policy that if a child needs to go to the bathroom, an adult, one of our teachers, takes that child to the bathroom. So
Right.
we would definitely be outside the bathroom to bring the child out to the evacuation. But a concern I have, and I would like to share with all of you, is that we need to have parents in the congregation stop sending their little children to the bathroom without supervision. It's a safety concern, because anybody can come in from outside that building, and we've had folks that have, and just take those kids out, you know? We really need them not to do that, because in the event of a panic stricken, they've sent their kids to the bathroom, you know, 5-year-olds and
And we're
4-year-olds.
sending the congregation one way.
We're
and the
sending
kids
that
another.
way, right.
Well, wait, I'm confused. How can a parent send a child to the bathroom if they're with you?
Not
They
all of them
can't.
go.
They
to
can't.
Little
They're
Land.
not
They
with
may
us the
go
whole
to
time.
That-
You're in a congregation.
These
They're
are
in the
children that are not
congregation,
with
and
us.
they're sending their children off.
Right.
That should be something the church should look at.
It should be a policy that
Yeah.
is really,
That's something you need to look at. yeah.
absolutely.
Because you're absolutely right, because if you send a child out and alarm goes off, they're gonna be frightened.
They'll be terrified.
They might hide in the bathroom.
Yeah,
They
probably.
will be, and they will panic in the bathroom and not move.
Adults will panic.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Cheryl, I like the concept of an usher nearest that door doing the bathrooms, because then you think that usher could also mop up in the congregation, make sure everybody's out. Because that's my concern, you've got all the ushers ushering people, who's making sure that everybody's moved out? So that person who does this could presumably go out and make sure everybody else is out. Just a thought.
That sounds good, Caleb.
So the bathroom person flushes it out.
You got it. That's a good way for that person to remember the job.
You know, if Caleb, if one guy has
What, I mean, it seems that, we may have to have individual meetings
yeah,
for different groups. So that way, when you guys get an opportunity to look at that evacuation plan, if you've got suggestions on how to update it, you just have to get them somewhere. Get them to Huntley, and then I'll update it to reflect what you guys want changed in the evacuation plan. But I think you need something forward. Children are not allowed to go to the bathroom by themselves.
Absolutely.
They must be accompanied by an adult.
do you ever recommend that some or all the leaders have smoke masks?
Have a what?
Smoke masks?
Smoke mask? No, you won't need it. You're not a professional firefighter, so, again, you should be evacuating like everyone else.
Speaking of, you got Bill there.
Well, inasmuch as we have 25 slides to go,
Yeah.
and I don't think we want to be here till 5 o'clock, maybe we should start writing down questions, and we'll collect them and then deal with them at another meeting.
I just have a general location or return question, which I think will make it easier. The refuge area is the baptismal space. Is that the front of the building or the back of the building? Because I'm thinking of
That's a great question.
blizzard,
We all use it
and
differently.
everybody's want to grab a coat. We don't all bring our coats in, and so if they're going out by the bathrooms, the side doors, or some, people can grab anybody's coat. That's
You can't-
important to know. But if they're going out the front door and it's February and it's snowing and it's 4 degrees, and they are in their, non-coat wardrobe. So which is the front? Which way is the congregation going as it is now?
I'd rather be a little cold and burned.
Well, that's true, but I mean, is that
That's my
meaning?
choice.
That means that the front door
You're going
is the
away
door
from your
near
guns.
the refuge on both
Let
sides.
me ask you, I know the trailer is separate from the building. Is there some way you could put people in the trailer?
Well, I think
If
again,
it's-
what
if
Bill
it's
was
extremely
saying
cold.
is we gotta write these questions down, we don't
Yeah.
have time.
I just wanna know where the front and the back is and
That's
which
the
way.
front of the church,
Okay.
this is the back of the church.
All right,
Elliott
that's fine.
Street,
That's
on
fine.
Elliott Street, number on
I
Elliott
promise
Street,
that
gotcha.
the rest of it should go fairly quick.
I know.
Okay.
So write your questions down, that'll be good. So this is the rally location for the sheet. This is the lawn.
Now, you gonna put any signing that says rally point, or? Okay. Okay. That's all right, I just thought I'd ask that question too as well. So now you know where the rally location is. Right, that's good. Emergency contact number is always 911, as you mostly can see. Poison control numbers down there, but I think what should be added is the gas company. If someone has to look at gas company. And do you want to list who the leads are and maybe a contact number? That's up to you, okay? So at least, if they're looking at this, and these are posted around, they'll know who to contact. And again, what we didn't mention, and I can say real quickly, is if an individual or someone from the congregation pulls an alarm because they leave and go to the bathroom, they know on that team that they pull the alarm. Here's where I found an incident. So when the fire department comes on board, comes in the property, they know where to direct them. And again, yeah, we went through that. Self-evaluation, we kind of went over this. We're going to have to do it. We're going to have to look at it, see how well we did, see where we could improve. Another good thing is to exits are unobstructed, and then do they make for easy access? And did everyone do their job? Okay.
Yeah, the other thing.
And the other thing that I noticed up front coming in is we're gonna have to look at fire extinguishers, because if we're gonna ask people to use them, one thing that has to be done is they have to have a monthly visual audit. We'll go over that real quickly. And then secondly, they have to be unobstructed. There's a plant in front of one of them. You can't have them obstructed. Yeah, sure.
That one is real by the.
Yeah, but you can swap some stuff around and do it better. It says who's responsible for pulling the alarm to evacuate the building. That should be anyone. So if someone notices a fire, they should just pull the alarm. first of all, you have to know where they are. And there's one that was hidden by a bookcase, so that would be, calling the fire department, again, that should be anyone if you notice a fire. And again, if you don't agree with that, that's your rules you can set, but it should be anyone having, you see an emergency, you call emergency responder, right? Accounting for all of, following the EAP guidelines, again, from the leads, and directing the fire department or medical personnel to the fire. Okay, so some of those are the things that you need to look at and you're gonna do what. Again, after anything, we just put these in, but stuff for the church folks to think about is that who's gonna notify your insurance carrier if you have a fire? Someone has to take charge of that. Clean up and any kind of restoration. I don't think cleanup would be that difficult, other than it would just be charred debris, but in our case, where I work, it would still getting into, drains. Ensuring that all fire protection devices such as the portable fire extinguishers and alarms are restored into service, because that will have to happen by someone who knows what they're doing. And obviously, any media statements, So. Well, we're gonna hold the questions, right? We're gonna table the
Yeah, I think
questions,
what we
right?
need to do.
One big problem we don't have, this is a non-smoking parish, right? Non-smoking building? I've never seen anybody smoke.
Well, don't trip on the wire.
Yeah, don't you trip.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'll probably dent the floor now.
Do you need to rewind?
Subject the offender to civil liability
You bring up a good
and
point.
several criminal penalties.
You're kidding, non-smoking.
You're kidding, 'cause they got that.
We assume this whole
Titanium.
building is non-smoking, correct?
I've never seen a smoker, but that doesn't mean no one ever
How
has.
about when we have AA meetings? Do people smoke?
Oh.
No, okay. So
Really?
it's completely non-smoking. That's important.
So that's another group of people that's going to need to know the evacuation plan.
Yeah, it's going up.
The AA, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, all the weekday
Well,
stuff
they
will
got three
have to.
doors to choose from, and that's, yeah.
All right.
At this fire school, novice firefighters fight large flammable liquid fires under controlled conditions. They learn the proper techniques that will allow them to get the most out of their fire extinguishers. They also learn the limitations of a fire extinguisher. This is important knowledge if they ever face a split-second judgments must be made. In this